I saw one of the comments on YouTube and I thought I'd just do a quick video because I've sort of been there, done that, and first hand. The other car's gone, which would have been an awesome example because it's all in a million pieces. But if you go through and see my old videos, I actually have explained it a couple of times, reference the leaks from the where the windscreen wiper area is. I think they call it platinum area. So I'll just do a quick run through of the layout and how this actually works. So I've done a picture to actually help explain it instead of showing it on this car. So basically that's the driver's side there, and that's your windscreen trim across there, and that there is the platinum chamber where the wipers actually sit. The wipers sit from basically here through to there. That's where the wiper system fits. So it's held on by a few bolts here, and the trim's held on by bolts all the way across the top. So common faults is where underneath the trim here, you'll find that, depending on how well the car's been looked after, rust. Where the bolts are and where the little clips that allow you to screw in the bolts, they often rust. So you'll see sometimes rust holes right through here. So basically you can rip that trim off. Pretty straightforward to get that trim off. You just got to take the sides off here, and there are only a few screws underneath, and then that trim will come off, and that'll let you have a look underneath. To get that off, it's quite straightforward. The windscreen wiper there, a couple of bolts, and those wipers will just pull out, and then you'll be able to just remove this. There's only four bolts you can see in there. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 bolts. You'll be able to rip that out easy. So then get either a mirror or iPhone or whatever you can jam up there. So basically you want to be looking up each end of that. So I'll go back to the little pretty picture. So once you get access, take that chop off, and you'll see the wiper mechanism in here. So you should be able to still have a look at, see how bad the rust is on your chamber area here. So the basics of the chamber, right? So windscreen, water runs down, water runs off the windscreen, rain comes directly down into it. It has basically a slope, so that's all slopes downwards into this single channel across here. And then there's a little pond looking area, and then underneath that pond is a drain. So that drain is actually hidden. So you've got the pond there, which is the little collection point, and then the drain actually disappears. So you see the drain go off, and then that drain actually comes out underneath the guard. So there's your thing, it is about there. Oh God, lucky I didn't have the pen lid off. It's about there, so you can actually see, if you ever took the guard off, you can see exactly there's a little hole there, and water runs out there. So the collection point is about here, and then it drains off down into there and then goes out the guard. So what I found is, if it's very hard to get access to, but if you have a certain attachment on a vacuum cleaner, of course I can't find it, but anyway, there it is. If you can find a vacuum cleaner attachment like that, you can actually sneak it underneath the windscreen wiper and jam that up there, and it'll go underneath and go all the way through. So once you get it in there, you can have a vacuum, suck it up on a vacuum, and actually jam it right up, and that'll actually reach right in underneath and suck out any leaves or any debris. So that's if you've got no leaks, but obviously most people will have leaks. So that's that section there that you can clean out once every, if you leave it under trees or whatever, or if you haven't done it before, certainly suck that out and clean that section out there. Use an extended bit of vacuum. So common rust spots. So in the pond area, it rusts around here, which will leak straight inside through the dash and into your footwell. other very, very common areas is around here, they will rust. So these are the bases of the air vents. So these air vents go from here, they go straight into your little plastic air vent underneath your dash. So then there's one on the other side as well, exactly the same. So these are about that round. Again, sorry, I'll go back to the car. So they're about that round. So they are decent and they're about that high. Okay, so on the base of them, they rust on the base. Because once that gets blocked, okay, once that gets blocked, that then fills. This whole bloody thing ends up filling, and that drain that I was talking about before, that goes all the way along, that gets filled up, and that then sits water all the way up here, and then it'll just rust and rust and rust. That's this one on this side, and same with the one on the other side. So if your drain's not draining, the water builds up and then leaks straight underneath where those two holes are, or it'll leak where the pond is in, which is about here, that pond. So that'll be leaking, and that goes straight down the front of your firewall and then straight onto your feet. The cars with carpet, rubber, all that, you'll notice it after it rains heaps and heaps. Now the other thing is, it'll probably rust your floor of your floor if it's not treated. So you get that. It means you've got to fix the rust and fix your floor. So on this car, it did have it. So I had a hole, ouch. Basically where the brake is, it was all the way around there. Huge big hole. It's probably about a 20 centimetre hole and pretty well all the way across. So I had to get a patch in to get all that fixed. And of course the chassis is underneath that, so you've got to chisel the chassis off. Chisel the bit of metal off the chassis. So it's not an easy job. It's not a quick job. So, so the other areas where you need to make sure you at least try and reduce the amount of water coming in your car if you do have rust, is to keep the little drain on the front open. I'll show you where that is. So you'll see just there's a little drain. So that one will get you out of trouble, providing your vents, the vents meaning the ones up the back there, and the one over there isn't rusted to buggery. So if you keep that little drain open, and your pond is okay, your little pond area in there is okay, that should get you out of trouble. Again, just get that vacuum thing, feed it in, and then suck all the leaves and crap out of there as much as you can. So if you do that, that should actually keep you out of trouble, and that will just drain in here, and then that drains along there and then out through to the same area on the guard on the other side. So there's another area where it drains out. So yeah, that's the sort of a backup point, but that gets blocked with leaves and it just fills up your whole chamber area. So now there's ways of doing it. You can do a proper fix, which is a big job, which is what I did. So the proper fix, again, that out, wiper motor out, pulled it all out. And then dash out. It's got to come out. I've done a video on how to do the dash removals. It's not that bad. You don't freak out. It's not as bad as you think. So yeah, don't be scared. There's a good video on it, and don't be scared of what you need to do. Any handyman can do it. So basically, dash out, and then what you've got is you've got your heater boxes. So you got a heater box which is behind the dash. You don't need to pull the dash all the way out. Just have it sitting on the seat here, so you don't need to undo all the cables and everything like that. So it's not too bad. And then there's a little box that sits up under there. That's your recirculation box, which looks like similar to that. So basically that sits up in there like that, right? So that's where your area on above it, this is the area where it connects to in your plendium chamber, and that's a bit what rusts above here. So basically air intake. You can see where your fan is. Generally the fans are not too bad. They don't seem to suffer the rust issue that I've seen. So there's one of these on each side, drivers and passenger. So passenger side's easy to get to once you get the dash, partly removed. Driver side, no, it is not easy. Because you've got huge amounts of cable and everything like that. So it is not easy. I had to attack that from the top. So luckily the driver's side wasn't too bad. So there's no easy way of going up that way. On that dash, it's very, very difficult. Straight up, very, very difficult. So what I did on the other car, luckily the driver's side one was actually really bugger all damaged. The passenger one I had to do a weld job, but I could access it from the other side once the dash was out. This one here only had a couple of patches, a couple of broken bits. And this bit here, the pond area, it was only had a couple of small holes, probably no more than 2 or 3 mil of rust holes. So I didn't need to patch that, and I didn't need to patch these. So what I did, you can use a stuff called metal filler. Now that stuff sets bloody hard. I found this is the stuff easy to use because it's a lot more pliable. If you use all stuff that you get in the tubes, and you got to meld with your hands and mix them up together with your hands, that's number one, it takes too long, it's too fast to set. It is too difficult to work with, and it all goes it's just hard to deal with. There's this stuff, it's a lot softer, a lot more easy to work with. So what I did on mine, on the other car, just because there was only a couple of holes, I got my hand up under there, which you can do once it's all out, and I just run my finger with that metal filler all the way around and all the way around the bottom. So that then sealed up this one. And the stuff, it works great. And I used it for those couple of holes in there as well. So I used it to fill those few little holes in the pond. So it worked brilliantly. Very, very good stuff. So just remember this area here. Make sure you get that trim off. Don't be lazy. Check underneath that trim. That can also be a source of water going inside your car. So that's basically, I hope that sort of helps. I know it's a bit of a long spiel, but it's pretty important to understand where the leaks are from. So in brief, yep, that's a common fault, and you've got to keep these things clean. If you're driving it, even leaving it anywhere under any sort of tree, whatever, you've got to clean these things up regularly. The other thing is for XEs, if you haven't done them before, very common is they fail underneath that seal. Very common. So if you see any, like you run your finger along there, if you feel any sort of signs of, and make sure you take these off too. There's only like 3 screws here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, but you do need to take that trim off and check that. So check under there and make sure there's there. Because if you need this, this can be a big problem. Because if this rusts here, it causes a terrible rust down here. And this one, you can start to see it. Look, see, I've even got it on this car. Crap. There you go. That means I have to more bloody rust jobs on this car. So as you can see, when this seal starts to go, it'll cause bloody holes along here, and it'll cause terrible damage here. You won't see it until you punch your friggin' hand through it, and it's all gone. So these are easier to change. They are home job. Anyone can do it. Get a knife, just cut that top one out like that, this back window will then just be able to pull out. You don't need to punch it from the back from using your feet and all this. Don't do that. Cut the bloody trim. They cost about $120 for a new seal. Don't reuse the old seal. It's not worth it. For the money and the time and the risk of smashing the bloody window trying to push it out with your feet is just not worth it. Really good sharp knife. Cut it out and then that window just falls out. One man job, easy job. So yeah, make sure you check that. Don't be lazy. It'll kick your ass later on, really bad. Not only that, it causes rust in here, and then that rust goes inside your ceiling, inside your roof area, and there's no access to behind here. You can't get in there. So what happens is then rust holes start to develop here. So this seal is bloody key. Don't mess with it. It's cheap to change. It's worth doing an inspection. If you've got any signs of any rust here, any sign of any rust here, just check your paint, make sure there's nothing, make sure your paint's perfect. Get these side things off, have a look. It's not worth the pain otherwise, I can tell you now. And that sucks, that's such a prick, that's going to be a mongrel. The other thing, boots. Look after your boots. Check them out. Make sure there's no rust in your boots. These, impossible to find replacements. Absolutely impossible. I spent 12 months looking for a good boot. Couldn't find it. So, for God's sake, look after your bloody boots. So what you want with the boots is you just check the underneath. Make sure there's no signs of any rust underneath here. If you do, get it treated. Fix the bloody thing. Don't think you'll get another boot. You just won't. So common areas, very common, is up here underneath. It starts from underneath because the water collects in here, and there's obviously leaves and whatever else here and along here, and then make sure the underneath is what starts, and then that comes up to the surface. So don't mess with boots, whatever you do. God, don't. Good luck finding them. You won't. If you do, sell it to me. So anyway, that's pretty well the guts of it. And of course, with any XE, any car, you're going to get rust under here. Common as, all the time. You can get new panels for this as well. You can just get panel cutouts, job done. Mine's got it. That's my next job. That's why this car's in here. Not only it's got a blown up diff, I'm going to do some rust repairs while I've got it. While she's off the road. So anyway, and look after your front guards under here too. Look after them under here, please, whatever you do. Make sure there's no rust under those little sections because they're a nuisance. And yeah, generally that's about it. But look for the telltales. If you get another XE, make sure you look for the telltale signs. Any paint bubbling, she's rusted underneath. Any sign of any sort of wear, don't rely on lazy. Make sure you check. Take things apart, check it. You know, these things are getting harder and harder to find, and you know, as you know, they're getting more and more expensive to fix things with rust, and less people doing the rust repairs. So anyway, that's where she is. So hopefully that's helps a few people out. Thanking you.